Dear students, welcome to the fourth part of your module 5, sampling. Actually, name of the full module is joint probability distributions and sampling. In previous three parts, you studied about joint probability distributions, how to prepare the joint distribution table, and using that table, how to find the marginal probabilities, how to find the covariance, correlation coefficient, etc. You already studied in the previous three parts. So in this part, we shall study the next topic, that is sampling. Before going to the sampling, I'll just give you some of the points which are required. One term which we are using in sampling is statistical inference. Statistical inference is actually a branch of statistics which uses probability concepts to deal with the uncertainty in decision making. So there are many situations where we come across problems involving decision making. It is necessary to draw some valid conclusions concerning a large mass of individuals or things. Every individual or the entire group is known as population. And when you select only a part of that population, that small part is called as a sample. Okay, it is just like your sample space and event. Sample space contains set of all possible outcomes, correct? And event is a subset of that. Just like that, from the population which contains entire group of individuals or things, that is population. From that, if you select a small part, it is called as sample. And why this sampling is required? Why to select the sample? Why we cannot study the population? One simple example I have given here. Just read this. Consider the problem of buying 1 kilogram of rice. When we visit the shop, we do not check each and every rice grain stored in a gunny bag. Rather, we put our hand inside the bag and collect a sample of rice grains. Then analysis takes place, and using the analysis on the collected sample of rice grains, we decide whether to buy or not. So, problem involves studying the whole rice stored in a bag using only a sample of rice grains, correct? So, in such cases, sampling is required. You cannot study each and every rice grain from the bag, correct? We select only few samples of rice grains and then check that sample, and based on the decision made on that sample, we decide whether to buy the rice or not. One more example, you are going for a blood test, correct? Whether in your laboratory, whether they are removing the whole blood from your body? No. They will just collect a sample of blood, and based on the results on that sample, they will decide about your sickness, correct? So sampling is very much required. So remember once again, sample means it is a part of the population, and population contains all possible values, individual things. It is a collection of all individuals or things. So once again I have given here the definition of population. They may ask you to define the terms population, sample, etc. So I have given the definition again. A large collection of individuals or numerical is regarded as population or universe. A finite subset of universe is called as a sample. The number of individuals in a sample is called a sample size. Okay, number of items which you have selected from the sample, that is called as a sample size. If that sample size is less than or equal to 30, then we call it as a small sample. Otherwise, it is a large sample. This is also very important while deciding the test. Next, you are going to study about some hypothesis tests. To decide about the test, this sample size is important. So, if n is less than or equal to 30, we call it as small sample. Otherwise, it is a large sample. The selection of individual or item from the population in such a way that each has the same chance of being selected is called as random sampling. Remember, while selecting the sample also, there are different methods. Okay, suppose if I have to select 5 students from a class. Okay, if I select only the 5 students from the first bench, it is not random sampling because knowingly I am selecting the students are from the first bench. Correct? So random sampling means without knowing. Okay, simply it is just like blindfold selection. We can just write all the roll numbers of students in chits. If there are 50 students in a class, I may write 50 chits with their roll numbers. Then folded selection is made. Simply we select 5 chits from the 50 chits. That will be random sampling. So without knowing, every member has the same chance of being selected. It is called as random sampling. The statistical constant of population means just like your sample space, from this class containing 50 students, all 50 students belong to the population. Okay. A statistical constant of population such as mean and standard deviation is referred as parameter. And the statistical constant of the sample, as I told you, from the 50 students, if I am selecting 5 students as a sample, then statistical constants of that sample only belong particular to those 5 students which I have selected. That is referred as statistic. So remember the name. Parameter means we use the term for the population. Statistic means it is mean, variance, etc. but for the sample. Remember the difference. Possible definitions. Define parameter and statistic. Define population, define a sample, define random sampling. All these definitions are important and easy to understand also. Now for every sample of size n, we can compute quantities like mean, median, standard deviation, etc. Obviously, these will not be the same. Correct? Okay. If I select 5 students, a sample of 5 students, once I may select only first 5 students, then I may select only the next 5 students. Like that, we select different samples. For each sample, you can find the mean, median, standard deviation, etc. Clearly, these will not be same. Suppose we group these characteristics according to their frequencies. That means first mean occurs how many times, frequency distribution. Second mean appears how many times. If you write the corresponding frequencies, then the frequency distributions so generated are called as sampling distributions. Okay. So for example, I am selecting 2 to 3 samples of 5 students each from a class. For the first 5 students, first sample, I may write mean marks of the students. Okay, mean marks obtained by those 5 students. And for the second sample again, I may write mean marks obtained by the students of that sample. For the third sample again, I may write the mean marks. Correct? Like this, sometimes 2 groups may have the same mean marks. In that case, when you write the mean marks, if you have twice that mean mark, so we write frequency as 2. We write x bar as the first row and corresponding frequency as the second row. We prepare a frequency distribution table. Once again, recall the frequency distribution table which you studied in your basic statistics. Okay. So this type of sampling distribution, when you write x bar and corresponding frequencies, that distribution is called as sampling distribution. And that sampling distribution, if the value of n, number of items, is large, then it is always assumed to be normal distribution. Always it follows normal distribution. Remember, actually this result comes from the central limit theorem of your statistics. It is when your n is very large, in that case sampling distribution follows normal distribution. That is a result. Central limit theorem. The standard deviation of the sampling distribution is also called as standard error. So when you write the distribution of these samples, sample means for example, then we get the standard deviation for that frequency distribution. That standard distribution is called as standard error. Statistical hypothesis is some assumption or statement about a population parameter which may or may not be true, which we want to test on the basis of the evidence from a random sample. Now, a hypothesis is not just an assumption. I may say that from the class of 50 students, I may say that mean marks obtained by all students is equal to 80%. That means 80 out of 100. I may assume that mean marks scored by students is 80. Okay, that may or may not be true. That is my assumption. This type of assumption is called as hypothesis. Later we decide whether to select that hypothesis. That means whether to accept that hypothesis or to reject that hypothesis. If the hypothesis is true, we will accept it. Otherwise, we will reject it. But in the beginning, we simply write one statement about the population parameter. And then we test it on the basis of the evidence from the samples. So first we write the assumption, then we select different samples from the class, and based on the mean marks obtained by the samples, we decide about the population mean. Okay. So we use a term called as testing of hypothesis. These are the steps involved in that procedure. First step, we prepare a hypothesis. As I told you in the previous slide, we prepare a hypothesis. Here we prepare a hypothesis which is called as null hypothesis. We set up a definite statement about the population parameter, and that statement is called as null hypothesis, and we denote it as H0. Null hypothesis is the statement which is tested for possible rejection under the assumption that it is true. So in the beginning we assume that null hypothesis is true, then we may reject it later. So it is tested for the possible rejection. We may accept it or we may reject it also. But in the beginning we assume that it is true. Then possibility of rejection is there. Remember, this type of hypothesis is called as null hypothesis. If the question is like that, whether there is any difference between sample mean and population mean, in that case we start the null hypothesis that there is no difference. Null hypothesis, null means no. We start from the assumption that there is no difference between the mean of the sample and mean of the population. This type of statement is called as null hypothesis. The name itself indicates null means there is no difference. Next we set up another hypothesis which is called as alternate hypothesis. It is just complementary statement of the null hypothesis, and we denote it as H1. For example, if we write null hypothesis as there is no difference between population mean and sample mean, then your H1 will be there is difference between population mean and sample mean. Okay. So null and alternate hypotheses are complementary and together they exhaust all possibilities. So these exhaust all possibilities regarding the value of the hypothesis parameters. Remember, possible definitions, they may ask you, very important, define the terms null hypothesis, alternate hypothesis. Which is the next step in our testing of hypothesis? Which are the first two steps? Once again recall, we first set up a null hypothesis, then we write the complementary hypothesis which is alternate hypothesis. The third step is decision about the level of significance. Okay. Level of significance is actually probability of rejecting the null hypothesis even when it is true. So there may be some chances even when the null hypothesis is true, we may reject it. But that probability we usually select very less. Okay. With some fluctuations in our sample data, we may accept the null hypothesis or reject the null hypothesis. But when null hypothesis is true, that chance of rejecting is very less. We take that chance as 1% or 5% in general. 5% means 0.05 or 1% means 0.01. So these are taken as level of significance. Okay. And if this level of significance is higher, higher the level of significance, then the higher the probability of rejecting a null hypothesis when it is true. Okay, then chance of rejecting the null hypothesis even when it is true, that chance is more. And we use some tests of significance. These tests of significance enables us to decide on the basis of the results of the sample results, if the deviation or you can say difference between the observed sample statistic and the hypothetical parameter. As I told you, if you are finding the mean, for example, we call it as parameter because it is for the population, and for the sample it is called as statistic. So we check whether the difference between the observed sample statistic and hypothetical parameter value is significant. So we use a test statistic to calculate the value of the statistic from the given data. And based on the test statistic, we accept or reject the null hypothesis. That is your fourth step. If the calculated value of the statistic is less than the tabulated value, we accept H0, null hypothesis. Otherwise, we reject H0 and instead of we accept H1. So remember, based on the answer or result obtained for the test statistic, we accept or reject the null hypothesis. Okay. And there are some statistical tables available. So if your calculated value is less than the value available in your tabulated value, for this you have to refer the statistical tables. And if this value is less than tabulated value, we accept H0, otherwise we reject H0. This is the fourth step. So remember which are the steps in your testing of hypothesis. First step, we prepare we set up the null hypothesis. And second step, we write the alternate hypothesis. Third step, we decide the level of significance. And sometimes they may give you this level of significance in the question itself. In that case, you have to select only that level of significance. And fourth step actually, I have given it under the third step itself. We use a test of significance, and based on the answer of this test, we accept or reject the null hypothesis. These are the steps. While accepting or rejecting the null hypothesis, there are four possibilities. Okay, I am giving you all the four possibilities here. The first possibility, null hypothesis is rejected when it is false. Null hypothesis is rejected when it is true. Null hypothesis is accepted when it is false, and null hypothesis is, okay, there is some space here, null hypothesis is, write the space, null hypothesis is accepted when it is true. So there are four possibilities. Okay, so when the null hypothesis is true and we reject it, okay, there will be some error. So, and when null hypothesis is false and we accept it, again there is error. So these two types of errors are written in this table. So they are called as type 1 and type 2 errors respectively. I have written hypothesis and decision here. If hypothesis is true and we accept it, then our decision is the right decision. There is no error. And when hypothesis is true and we reject it, then the error is type 1 error. So rejecting the null hypothesis when it is true leads to type 1 error. Similarly, when the hypothesis is false and if we accept it, hypothesis is false and we accept it, then there will be error. That error is called as type 2 error. And when the hypothesis is false and we reject it, in that case our decision is right decision. So there will be two types of errors. Remember, rejecting the true hypothesis and accepting the false hypothesis. Both lead to type 1 and type 2 errors respectively. So they may ask you the definition, define the terms, type 1 error, type 2 error. You write this definition. You can also write in sentence. No need to prepare the table. Write in sentence. Critical region. The critical value serves as the basis for either accepting or rejecting a hypothesis. When alpha equal to 0.05, alpha is the notation for the level of significance. I told you we usually keep the level of significance at 1% or 5%. That means 0.05 or 0.01. So when level of significance is taken as 0.05, then region of rejection is 0.05 and the region of acceptance is 0.95. Correct? We accept the null hypothesis in this region, 95% of the region. So this is the region of acceptance under your normal distribution curve. Only this region gives you 5% and remaining region 95% comes here. It is called as region of acceptance. So value of the standard normal variable z corresponding to 5% level of significance is plus or minus 1.96. Actually 5% can be divided into two equal parts. That means we divide 2.5% under the left tail and 2.5% under the right tail. 2.5% means that rejection area will be 0.025 and here also rejection area will be 0.025. So you can refer the standard normal distribution table and for which value of z, here only you get 0.025 area. That means 1 minus remaining area comes to the left side of this. Only this area. That comes to the corresponding to the value of z equal to 1.96 here and here minus 1.96. So if your value is less than 1.96 minus 1.96 or more than 1.96, then it comes under rejected region. So if your value is in between minus 1.96 to 1.96, in that case it comes under accepted region. So remember for 5% level I have given you the figure here. Similarly for 1% level, if the error is only 1%, again still your rejected region is less 1% somewhere here. In that case your value will be 2.58. You can refer the table and find out. 2.58, 1% can be divided into two equal parts. That means here you get only 0.005, correct? 5%. 1% is divided into two parts, so 0.05%, you get 0.0005. So it comes here, 2.58 is the corresponding z value. And this side it is minus 2.58. And remaining region, this constitutes the critical region of the hypothesis outside this range. So this is the critical region, shaded region. If absolute value of your calculated test statistic is less than 1.96, in that case we accept the null hypothesis with the 5% level of significance. And if your calculated test statistic absolute value is less than 2.58, in that case we accept the null hypothesis with the 1% level of significance. When you work out the problems, you can easily understand that. So you are going to study three types of hypothesis tests. First one is called as Z test or test for large samples. And second test is called as T test, which is test for small samples. And third one is chi-square test. Okay, test for the correspondence between the frequencies. So three types of tests are included in your syllabus. In your next video, I will work out some problems from the first test, that is Z test. And when you work out the problems, you can easily understand this theory part. So after working out some problems, once again study this theory part. Okay. So I will stop here. We'll continue with the next video. Thank you.